Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to talk a little bit about why the movie Titanic kind of drives me crazy. There's some wonderful things about the movie Titanic that came out, 1997? As a spectacle, as a sight, as a accurate representation of the ship, it has no peer. Fantastic. As a story, as for acting, as for portraying the period of time, it falls far on the side of pathetic. There were many movies made about the RMS Titanic, and I have to say that the best movie I have ever seen on the Titanic was Night to Remember. It far exceeded the movie Titanic tremendously. By the acting, by the story itself, by the accuracy of the story itself. And not to have some silly love story that caused a lot of issues, as far as I'm concerned, with the entire story itself. The one thing I didn't like is the fact that, first off, when they left, if you notice, when the ship is pulling away, they're all waving. Nobody did things like that. You would take a hanky and you would wave it. That is what was done in the Edwardian period. In fact, take a look at the movie Night to Remember, and you'll see footage of several different ocean liners. None of them were the Titanic, of course. And you will see as they're pulling away, you'll see the hankies all moving. Take a look at photographs when people are leaving. You'll see the hankies waving. It was a common thing that was done. People just didn't wave garishly. Some did, of course, but a vast majority used hankies. Other things about the story, it's all centered around a love story. And you got to understand, it's 1990s. It is a group of two individuals from the 1990s sitting in a setting for 1912. That's what it is. Now, there are certain things that just kind of bother me. First off, when Rose talks about the Mauritania and whatever, never mentions the Olympic. They know about the Mauritania, but they didn't know about the Olympic. The Olympic was the ship of dreams. They never mention it in the movie because I guess it takes away from the Titanic. Another thing, when she has her fit and she screams and she runs to the back of the ship, and ready to jump. This was the end of the Edwardian period. Every gentleman would be there to offer assistance. Remember on the Titanic trip, people, if they were alone or a woman was in distress, there would be a proverbial Congo line of individuals offering assistance. Nobody follows her. It is so ridiculous. But of course, they have to make the movie work. And that's how they get their hero to join the heroine. And he stops her from jumping. Well, that was pretty bad. But it also continues being kind of bad. Spitting off the side of the ship. That's cute. But the thing that drove me crazy is he's wearing overalls. This was first class. You would be thrown overboard practically wearing overalls in first class. You have to understand the mindset of the time. And that's the one thing that they didn't show. In that movie, they tried to create these one-dimensional views of the upper crust and the immigrants. And they made the immigrants seem really good. And they made the first-class passengers seem somewhat robotic. Now, John Jacob Astor was anything but robotic. He wrote science fiction novels. He was an inventor. He won awards at the Columbian Exhibition of 1893 for a street cleaner. He liked to get his hands dirty. He was not like your average millionaire. Yet we don't really show him that way too much. We show him kind of like one-dimensional. You had so many other individuals that were writers, thinkers, industrialists, that were phenomenal and multi-layered individuals. You had the Strausses, which really don't even get the light of day except for like a 2-second bit when the water's coming over their bed. And then the boat sinks, and they have this little problem because the water is coming in, and no one's complaining about it being cold until they get out of the ship, and then they complain about the water being cold. It's a little ridiculous, don't you think? But it is a movie that was a love story, and the backdrop was the Titanic. The Titanic was not the main story. It was the love story. And therefore, a lot of the inaccuracies that have to be put in there satisfy the love story. Now, if you want to see something that's really good about the Titanic, watch Night to Remember. It gives you a true understanding of what it was like on the ship. You understand how people operated, how they thought, how they acted. And it wasn't focused behind some relationship. It was the story of the ship. By far the better movie, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, the technology, the information that's available in the movie in 1997 far exceeds Night to Remember from 1958. But the thing is that the story kind of takes a beating because of the love story. And so accuracy has to take a back seat at times, whereas Night to Remember is by far the better, as far as I'm concerned. What do you think? I know a lot of people are into the Jack, Rose, Jack. It's like a tennis match, for God's sakes. But the thing is, the Titanic was a terrible disaster. And, of course, this was their little Romeo and Juliet on the Titanic.